it's changed a little bit, but and still majority of dairies, when they separate calves, they'll bottle feed them or bucket feed them usually twice a day. And so you go 12-hour intervals between and they kind of underfeed them. So basically, and you feed for 6 to 10 weeks and then you wean them and then they go just on plant food.
And what's in that?
So dairies will be a mix a lot of times of, so you've got cows that are, especially on bigger dairies, commercial dairies, you're feeding a lot of grain. You've kind of weakened, you're pushing them to the edge of the cliff. So you're making them more susceptible for diseases too. You're kind of weakening their immune system isn't as strong and vibrant when you're feeding them 25 pounds of grain a day as my cows. And so you have more metritis, so uterine disease after calving. They have more contamination and they can have infections in their uterus that need treating. They're the way sometimes you have to manage in the way they lay down. They lay in dirtier environments, and so little weakened immune system, they get more mastitis, and so you have to treat them from mastitis. And so you're treating animals all the time on these big dairies. You have a hospital that's got 10 to 100 cows that are being treated or are on withdrawal. So you treated them for X number of days and they still have 5 days, 3 days till their milk is good. So they stay in the hospital and you can't put their milk in the tank. So all the drugs that are approved to be used on, and this is a big thing that veterinarians, and this is something the dairy industry takes very seriously and doesn't let things slip through the cracks. The milk, the dairy products you're consuming don't have antibiotics in them. They're very serious. Well, they don't have beta-lactams. They don't have penicillins in them, which the main thing about that is people are reactions to penicillins, are sensitive to them, allergic reactions, and you can get allergic reactions from drinking milk that has residue from penicillin. And so historically, we've tested that forever. Some of the weird new antibiotics, they don't test every load for that, but every load of milk is tested for penicillins. But so the dairy industry, if you get in trouble for that, is big deal. And if you get in trouble for that multiple times, they won't let you sell milk anymore. And so that's the one thing producers take very seriously. And so they have very strict hospital pens where they'll sort cows off, and they'll even have separate milking parlors where the cow won't even go through the traditional milking parlor that the milk goes to the regular tanks. They have separate systems, so there's no way their milk will go in there. So all that milk, then instead of dumping it down the drain, they'll feed that to calves. But those are coming from cows that have mastitis, that have other issues that change the quality of the milk. Mastitis directly changes the quality of the milk, but if you got, terrible pneumonia, metritis, that quality of your milk is different than when you're, maximum
and they're
health.
feeding that to the baby cows.
They'll be feeding that to baby calves. Now, maybe they'll pasteurize that to lower contamination levels of it, but they'll be feeding that as the protein and fat source to the calves. That if that doesn't meet all the calves that you've got, you can buy powdered milk. And so you'll reconstitute it with water, X number of scoops and this, and then you'll feed that the same way, either in a bottle or a bucket. Or nowadays, on some of the bigger, more progressive dairies, they'll have automatic feeding systems. So calves can come up more than twice a day. So twice a day is you got a crew that comes out, fills all the bottles, comes out, puts it in their hutch, and the calves drinks from this little holder. And then you come around and take it after they're done and wash the bottles. And then 12 hours later or 10 hours later, another crew comes and does it, or you do it before you go home, kind of thing. And so those calves, that's not really natural. I mean, if you look at a calf like my calves on their mother, they're drinking 20 times, 40 times a day, lots of little servings over the course of the day. And so you're not getting these slugs and then huge gaps. And so that's just not natural. And that affects, how the calf does in digestibility. But calves and most all calves, will get some level of diarrhea or something, and they'll be feeling a little off. Well, in that hutch system with the bottles, well, that guy comes and puts that bottle in the holder and goes down. And when everybody's done and he's putting bottles, if you haven't finished that bottle, he might get in there for a second or two and work with you, but he doesn't have the time, or she doesn't have the time to work with you. And boom, that milk's down. And then 12 hours later, you got your another chance. And so you notice the calves that have diarrhea that are out with their moms, feeling a little punky. Mom comes up, gives them a few licks, perks them up a little bit. They go back and they take a couple sips, and then they've had enough. But they're still drinking over the course of time. So they might be drinking less than they were because they might be feeling a little punkier, but they're getting what they need, and mom's there.